Hey, welcome to Cubs and Culture for 1/21/2019. Sorry for sounding sick, but I'm sick again. Anyway, we're up to, what's it called? Chariots of Fire. It's the movie Best Picture from 1981. I don't have that much to say about it. I don't particularly like this movie. Um, it's about Olympic runners, so let me bring up some trailers and clips. Again, it's sort of, the 80s are sort of, I'm going to telegraphing a little bit, but the 80s are very much when people think of the sort of stuffy, important subject movies, Oscar bait stuff. I really think they're thinking of the 80s because a lot of the films have this quality. Anyway, so let me bring up a trailer and clips. See you in a sec. Okay, if you've never seen Chariots of Fire, you probably shouldn't. There's two kind of big issues with the film. Okay, so the movie's about Olympic runners preparing for the 1924 Olympics. And one's Jewish, and he runs to try to get respect, dealing with anti-Semitism and getting into the halls of power in England. And the other one is a Christian missionary, and he runs for the glory of God, and there's a couple others, and so it's all mostly about religious conflict. So like the Christian won't run on a Sunday, so he has to switch races. The anti-Semitism one, the Jewish one, excuse me, often feels left out, so it's him dealing with it. So when he wins, he finally feels included, etc., etc., etc. Now there's a couple of big issue. So this movie is about racing, and it's about runners. And unfortunately, there's two things about it that really make the film sort of very unintentionally funny to me. The first is the goddamn score, which sounds very 1980s to me, because it's heavily synthesized and everything like that. And the movie's supposed to take place in 1920, like 1918 to 1924 or something. It's roughly a 6-year period. Excuse me. Etc. And so the score sort of feels too 80s for the material, so it ends up being so sort of funny. The other sort of thing, I'm only going to show this one scene, and it's sort of the climax. That's the guy in the coat in the blue is the Christian. And it's because the running itself is often very funny looking. Because I don't know if it's because the actors were trying to do the actual gait of the runners in the 1920s, because of course sprinters in the 20s didn't run like they do today, because it was the 20s, so it's just basically very basic training, or what. And because of that, or I don't know if it's because the director films a lot of the racing in slow motion, or everything like that, that it just ends up being really funny. And so it happens multiple times in the film, where it's sort of like, because it's a sports movie, the climax is like the actual climax of the movie is the running, but at the end of the day, the running, if the running looks funny, it sort of greatly damages the film, because at the end of it, you're like, even if you're invested in sort of like the religious drama of the characters being running for self-respect and the glory of God respectfully, even if you're into that, once they actually start running, the movie sort of just collapses in on itself. And the other thing I find a little bit weird about this is because these are British runners, and it's sort of the Americans who are the antagonists at the end. It's really weird to me that it won the Oscar, because it feels much more like just a British BAFTA movie. In any case, so this stuff is okay. It's specifically, like, it's not always unintentionally funny, because it is sort of just running, but it just, every once in a while, the shot's coming up here. Like, it's like the slow motion, it absolutely does, but there's one specific shot where the guy sort of is looking up, and it's like he goes into second gear, and it's not dramatic, it's just sort of funny looking. And Yeah, I mean, again, parts of it might be the score as well because of the synthesizer sound, but it's just, here it is, here it goes. And so it just sort of leans back, and I find like second gear, and like it's supposed to be like this whole dramatic, like that's the climax of the film, is that I find it too goddamn funny looking to take it seriously. That's the Jewish guy, by the way. That it just isn't all that great of a movie because like the central scenes cause the entire film to collapse in on itself. So I just can't take this story seriously because of this issue. Looking around, I don't think anyone else seems to have it. The movie ends up, well, a lot of people consider the movie kind of lame because of the nature of it being sort of Oscar bait, which is fine, and the patriotic themes, etc. But to me, it's just, the running is so goddamn awful looking that it's just becomes unintentionally funny. Now, apart from that issue, the movie is relatively well put together. I like Ian Holm in it. He is a very good performance. I also like that there's a couple of scenes that deal with the myth of the amateur, because, of course, famously, the Olympics are supposed to be only amateur athletes, so they can't be paid, and that's actually entirely a class thing. It's because there's actually, when they were forming the Olympics, they're like, we can't have professional rowers competing because that would be unfair to the upper classes. And so the movie is at least smart enough to indicate that a couple of times that the Olympics are highly classified, like they're highly like they're kind of bullshit on this point, because they all sort of have to, like, you have to be rich to compete, and like one of the characters is actually a lord. In any case, that will be it. I mostly find Chariots of Fire lame. I'll see you guys in a little bit.